The Japanese are taking an ever more dominant position in the Pacific. After an attempt to beat back the Yamato via a nighttime ambush, the Abdicon forces lost an American Standard-class battleship and 2 British cruisers. This crushing victory over the Abdicon forces has endeared the Japanese Navy to the Imperial supply offices, therefore opening up increased supplies to the Japanese fleets. Using an interim period between fighting, the Japanese were able to reinforce their Philippines ports and airfields with more engineering and fuel. This is very much needed to stop those falling into dust due to lack of supplies and a weak infrastructure. However, with the Yamato needing repairs at Kure from the previous battle, the Abdicon forces have seen an opportunity to push through Truk and into Guam. Little do they know that there are 2 Nagato-class battleships backed up by a horde of destroyers and heavy cruisers waiting for them. Hello and welcome my dear students back to our War on the Sea Let's Play series, as of course the Japanese Navy once again. So tomorrow should be the day. We're on the 10th of May. Day 153 of our campaign, and day 154 should be the day we finally get resupplied, and that's very important because, as you'll know, won't stop banging on about it, we have reached 300 enemy sinkages. Sea lanes are open at 300 ships sunk. That should mean we get 3 times more supplies and troops and such, and that is astronomical for us because we get quite the pittance at the moment. There you go, 308 ships sunk. That's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, what we're going to do today is, of course, wait for that to happen. And we're going to start loading those troops and supplies up onto our cargo ships over here, and we're going to, of course, send them down to the Philippines as such to reinforce there, and that will do a couple trips backwards and forwards if that all goes through well. And then what we'll think about is either landing on Manila again after bombarding it to level 3s and 3s, or actually just going straight down into the Dutch East Indies. I did like the idea of taking Tawi, and then I did probe the idea of taking these bases over here for their excellent radar coverage, and that would be absolutely brilliant for us indeed. Otherwise, we could think about retaking Pohnpei and Kosrae over here, but at the moment they're not the most strategically valuable places, so we can live without those for now. They are, however, on the list of victory bases which we do need to take for a true victory in our campaign. So we will need to go back to those later on. However, I've been thinking, in regards to the Japanese carriers, what I'm going to do is try and scout those out. These are all the same price, aren't they? I might just go with a single Kreisen and go towards Midway, just so we can see exactly what the enemy's doing. I've not done that so far because it is a little bit on the cheesy side, but I do want to see if the Japanese carriers, the US carriers, are active, and see if they are going backwards and forwards to Midway. I only want to launch 1 Kreisen for that, because that will certainly do the job. The Kreisen, where are we? Has a lot of torpedoes about, but I believe it only has 2 front-facing tubes, and that is excellent. The range is still a good 10 kilometers there, which is excellent for this. It's not the most advanced ship, I believe, though, so let's just go for that. Just a single one will do. We need 35 command points. I've not checked, so we'll do that in a second when we get resupplied as well. So that should not be too difficult at all. I might even want to launch something with aircraft actually, so that we can get the extra sight over there. So, with that being said, what are we looking like on Kure? We are on just under 4,000 troops on Kure. So if we get the extra troops and supplies, we should be getting 4,500 troops income each week if it is 3 times. So we should be on roughly 4,500 troops and such if we do get resupplied, and that's excellent. We'll be on even more supplies, of course. So we'll see about that. That's so we know to mark it and see if it is working properly. Fingers crossed there. You know this game. With having said that then, we're going to try and chase down the Renowned Task Force down here with our Guam Defence Task Force and see what we can do about that. We will start patrolling closer to truck to see if we can pick this up and put that on a repeated patrol, I think, for now. Otherwise, that's really the aim for today, is delete this task force if possible and get our supplies moving off of Kude finally. So let's get going. At 0300 hours the next day, our 2 submarines scousing the Dutch East Indies have come across a rather sizable and threatening American task force. This task force is led by a New Mexico, escorted by a handful of American destroyers and a heavy cruiser and a light cruiser. Using the extremely low visibility of the nighttime and the high sea state of 4, our submarine decides to get very close at sub 3 kilometers to the light cruiser and fire out 5 torpedoes in the hopes of sinking it. Okay, so we have just been resupplied. You can see our command points have gone up to 110, which is excellent. And on Kude it seems low. That's really embarrassing and frustrating. Very, very frustrating. We've not got the 3 times supplies. That is rather interesting, unless I'm miscalculating that somehow. Oh, maybe we have. I am just completely miscalculating that. Okay, interesting. So it's double rather than 3 times, which is very, very interesting indeed. I've been lying to you all this time. So that's interesting. That's a change I missed in the mod description, of course, because in the base game and in the previous TC when we played our US campaign previously, I believe it was 3 times. I might just be making that up. 2 times either way. Cannot complain. 3,000 troops and 7.6 thousand supplies, and look at all the engineering and fuel we're getting now. Cannot complain whatsoever. That does still mean we'll have to wait around for any truly large invasion, but that doesn't mean we can't start moving our troops and supplies, does it? So what we can do with that is actually, I think it's actually more viable to go for Cebu because it has a lower airfield level, 0 port on it, and of course we control the area anyway. While I think about it, I'm just going to unload the 10 fuel on this ship onto Devour over here, and we're going to send off over here. That'll just help the integrity out over there as planned. So I think we're going to go for Cebu, as said, because it actually holds a little secret. Like Manila, like Hong Kong, and I believe like Puerto Princesa, we get extra engineering and fuel from it. Very specifically, actually, engineering and fuel from Cebu, because I believe from Puerto Princesa you either get one or the other. It's either engineering or fuel. From Cebu, I believe it's 5 or maybe even 10 of each engineering and fuel from that. So we have been resting on that a little bit. That's something I did forget about, I'm afraid. So please feel free to score me over that or scold me over that. But not to worry, we're going to take it with a big old invasion task force, and that will mean, of course, more troops in this area, which is absolutely brilliant. We do, of course, have that New Mexico task force coming around, don't we? We spotted that roughly over here, south of Ambon over here, which is absolutely... It's just very, very interesting, actually, because that might well be the patrol path for ships coming north over here to Peleliu, maybe even then scouting around the Caroline Islands at Truk and such. So we may well have a surprise over here for our Guam Defence Task Force. Might want to think about taking out these cargo ships as well. Although I think we've had our fill of that already. Going to reattach these destroyers to our fighting force too. These are the ones used in the previous episode to help sink that Gato. And finally, attaching those again will certainly help our defence there. Just get a patrol going over here, nothing too fancy, just to make sure we're active and scouting around for any close by enemy supply ships. Do of course have our CVs over here. That would be Kaga and Shokaku and such. They have been restocked very discreetly. You can see Tayo is very low on zeros, and that's because these are the zeros scouting around. So once again, let's get going. Try and invade Cebu, shall we? Excellent. Okay, so you may be wondering why I did not actually get out a Kraisen to go for Midway, and that's because I remembered we did have a couple submarines going around Wake Island, and they've yet to pick up anything around there. So I thought it's just easier, less travel time to go from Wake Island to Midway. So we've got I-10 and I-26 here, each with some sort of scouting plane. We're not necessarily going to have to sink anything over here. Once again, just some passive scouting is the plan over here. So what we're going to do is get a repeated patrol. We're going to go right on top of Midway over here and just keep a fairly messy patrol over there. So we go right on top of the island to pick up anything in and outbound over there, and of course do a little bit of scouting out here to catch anything going into the theatre over here. So we do have those over there. You'll notice that the command points have dropped down, and it has actually made it there. That's because for the Musashi task force, I thought it'd be good to get a carrier to escort that about. So we do want to get the Ryujo into our Musashi task force, and that will allow it to be very, very aggressive indeed. We have 2 battleships over here, a couple heavy cruisers, a good amount of destroyers, and now we have 21 zeros and 16 Kates as well, it must be said, to help our endeavours there. This is a very, very powerful task force indeed. So what we can do with that is, I think, try and be a little more aggressive. We've just picked up a battleship task force over here. I want to scout that out. Unfortunately, Musashi is too far away to do anything about that just yet. It will have to be our Guam Defence task force taking that on. So, what do we want to do with this? Really, I think we want to just keep around Iwo Jima and such, because outside of Truk, Iwo Jima is where we're finding the enemies so far. We've seen those heavy cruiser task forces, the counties and such. We've seen the renowned task forces come around there. It's certainly an area with heavy enemy traffic, so we're going to want to start patrolling around here. Won't put that on repeated, we'll tidy that up when we get closer. We do of course have the Task Force 104 with the Unya over here. That was meant to be shadowing our Supply Deceptors 2 over here. That's not a problem, still doing that. And of course our Invasion Support Task Force has made it to Kude as well. So what we're going to do is quickly rearm our ships there. Should all be good. We certainly do have our ammo up. I would like to actually reintroduce the Fuso into this task force, or even the second Issei would be very nice indeed, so that we do have better bombard power. What we're going to do with this is actually go back down to the Philippines, maybe even scout out to Singapore once again, or just give us a rough directional order over here for now, and again tidy that up when we get closer to the Philippines. So let's get going, see if we can scout out this task force actually, and see if we can force an engagement. That will either be the renown we cited previously, and I would like to actually have my theory confirmed that it might be the New Mexico task force we spotted at night, therefore confirming a patrol route from the Dutch East Indies over to Truk as well. So that's absolutely brilliant. What we're going to do then is we're actually going to launch out a single Mavis. We don't want to arm it with anything, just here to scout out. Thank you very much. We'll send that straight over. It does have a lot of fuel, which means we can shadow that and keep solid contact with that. So let's get going. And it appears our theory has been proved correct. This battleship task force is indeed the New Mexico task force scouted by this Mavis here. So this is south of Truk, and it is moving easterly towards Wake Island and such. So not looking for any direct conflict just yet. However, direct conflict it shall find as our Guam Defence task force moves in for the kill. And somewhat amusingly, at 12:37 hours on the same day, a couple British cargo ships have found their way right on top of our Musashi task force. They shall be blown away in a matter of minutes, of course. Well, 2 hours later, after that cargo excursion, our Guam Defence task force has stumbled across the New Mexico task force just south of Truck. The visibility is extremely low at 45%, and the range is roughly 20 kilometers between our two task forces. We do have some scouting planes in the area granting us direct sight over this task force, and it appears that the enemy does not have their radar active, because they're showing no signs of actually firing back. We can see that their turrets are not rotating towards us, so our Nagatos shall get the first salvos out in this little skirmish here. Let's see if we can sink the New Mexico. After the New Mexico suffered multiple direct hits damaging many components, it has decided to lay smoke and pull out. However, this has only encouraged the heavy cruiser escorting it to push in and become aggressive. We need to start firing on this cruiser with our own heavy cruisers in kind. Okay guys, so I'm going to halt the narration there. Mutsu has finally taken a hit from the New Mexico. We've had some very nice opening salvos here. Most of them actually have been manually targeted onto the New Mexico, and you know what? I think we're getting the hang of this now. A report will show that the New Mexico is on moderates to moderate. That's up and down. It was on heavy to minimal previously, so that's not so bad. Increased flooding is always good, but having a look at the Mutsu, we have minor to moderate, but it's looking quite bad really. We don't have any permanently damaged compartments, but they have hit one of our funnels, and that is giving us a top capacity on our speed of 57%. How are we looking onto the county? Not looking too great over there. I'm just letting our cruisers do as they wish for that. I am focusing on the New Mexico. This engagement is, of course, with the idea of getting some skirmishing, opening shots fired first to push these this task force back. If we can bag the New Mexico, I'll be extremely happy, but we're not trying to push too hard here. Looks like the Suzuya is perhaps breaking off from formation a tad. It's not necessarily a bad idea. What we'll do is we will, I think, come under cover of smoke now. Probably a little too late there. What we do need to do though is, I think, increase our speed and let the Mutsus and such really move away, because this is not looking good with our terrible top speed. Now I'm just going to move the Asashio away, just going to reduce its speed before it bumps into the Nagato and causes any extra harm there, and that can turn around and come to the flank like so. We can move away over here with Miyoko and such and bring the formation round. Let's see what we can do about our firing solution, because I think that's still following an old manual fire there, so they will all be missing at the moment. So that's just a complete waste of ammunition over there and time, of course. Looks like we're getting away from the Mutsu quite fine there with our Asashio. Got a little bit of a list, I think, going on there, if my eyes do not deceive me. That's not good. Not overly surprising, considering we do have a lot of flooding on our port side there. Take a few minor shots. That looks like a secondary shot going in there. Nothing really penetrating too hard. Let's go for a manual shot once again. It's going at 13 knots. Looks like a decent speed there. Just need to fire straight ahead. Just trying to get the level of that correct there, so that we don't straddle too hard. And what we'll do is we'll pause once again to keep our aim okay there, so we can go around to the Nagato. And actually, I think fire out a little further away. It is turning, as you can see there. We'll try firing out over here. It's just getting the shell travel time down at the moment to something decent. A little more accurate judgment is what we need at the moment. Do have some decent firing solutions at the moment, but even as a 90% solution, you're still not going to get the most hits in there as we have seen in the past. Let's fire out once again. Looks like it's halted the turn there. Fire out once again. We can see we're getting very, very close. Unfortunately, still straddling the target there. Let's see how the Nagato's shots come in. Might be a little off, unless that was it. Oh, we did get some hits onto the rear there, so we are getting better at this. Do bear with me. It is getting slower, this New Mexico, actually. It is actually getting slower, so we're going to fire just ahead of it there. So I think that's going to go right down to a halt, actually, if we're very, very lucky. It's probably pushing our luck there a tad, and I think we need to watch our formation over here, because that is disgusting, whatever the Suzy is doing there. Let's reduce its speed, shall we? Actually, let's just go right down to reverse at the moment, because the Mutsu's not going to be able to get out of the way anytime soon, unfortunately. And what we'll do is we will Fubuki, Chokai, Kagero can form up in a line ahead. Fubuki can lead, of course, bring down our speed a tad, and actually just adjust our range over here and speed and such. We will keep sight over here. Visibility is very, very low at 45%, so having the Mavis and well, we're losing the Zero, but bring the Pete over as well. Because we're in smoke and so is the enemy now, we are going to start losing direct sight onto them. That is rather unlucky there indeed. We will pull back with Jinsu, I think, and Asashio. Suzuya can... I think what we could do is, it's not being targeted, so we will get into reverse at the moment, just so that we don't hit the Nagaso there. In fact, actually, we'll just turn around. It's a very, very slow speed, and just increase our spacing here, because the Nagato over here, or the Mutsu rather, is being targeted. Any collateral will hit our close by ships. Bring the Mutsu around, I think, so we do have a decent targeting solution there, some angles from our guns. Just hold off over here and get another mangle shot. So the New Mexico is at a steady speed of 8 knots. Don't need to fire too far ahead of that, then that should be absolutely fine. And we'll bring the Suzy around over here, and that should be much better. And we can rejoin our forces soon. In fact, we'll just screen over here actually, like so. Try and be a little more decisive there. We have lost sight of the New Mexico, so we might have to disengage very soon, although we'll just bring the Mavis over to help with that. Not getting too many hits at all, if any, onto the county, which is rather unfortunate. How are we looking on this New Mexico? We can see smoke billowing up from stem to stern there, which is brilliant. That will mean we've got some solid hits there. We do need to hold fire though. We did get a very little glancing shot onto its nose there, so I think we'll hold fire here with the Mutsu. Let the Nagaso get one more salvo off, and see what we can do about that, and hold fire there now, thank you. Just wasting ammo otherwise. Barely see the New Mexico in this smoke. We take another report. It is on critical damage to heavy flooding, so we might be able to get this in this skirmish over here. We just need to tidy up our formation, get the Mutsu into a decent position. Looks like we've got on top of the flooding. Let's take another look at its damage control. Actually, that's not bad at all. Back to 100% top speed capacity, which is excellent for us. What we need to do, like I said, just get our Mavis over to help with our scouting. And there we go, we can see it once again. So, what we're going to do is, I think, we're going to tidy up a tad. Just get our Makinami over here, our Suzuya over here. How are we in relation to the enemy there? Because I do want to get some decent firing angles off there. With our battleships. Let's slow down over here. Kagero needs to speed up actually. Well, they are trying to get into a line formation, of course, but it's just not happening, unfortunately. Let's bring round over here like so. Nagato can turn up to get all of its guns cleanly firing onto the New Mexico there. Should be fine like that. Scythia's doing okay there. So now that we have contact with the New Mexico, we can see it is completely dead in the water. So manual shots should do very well indeed. We'll get the Nagato. How many guns can you fire? Looks like all of them. Let's get that on there. We'll fire a little further back over there. I do like to fire to one side of the ship to account for any sort of straddling we might get. And we'll see how well that works, really. And there we go. After a lot of straddling shots onto the New Mexico, we did finally get the minimal direct hits we needed to actually sink that permanently. And we did get some minor hits onto the county throughout that, but nothing really to shout about while taking minimal damage by ourselves. The Fubuki, of course, under previous heavy damage, of course. No hits taken in this particular skirmish, which is excellent. May want to send that back home at some point though if it is that heavy. So, good 5 command points secured, and of course a New Mexico down. Let's go to the strategic map, and I think since we're so close to truck, we are going to take the opportunity to resupply our ammunition there. And let's double check exactly how many New Mexicos that is. I'm not entirely sure that's our first New Mexico, but we might well be proved wrong here. Let's see, that's all of them down now. Interesting. There we go then, we're getting much closer to a victory there, aren't we? Very much closer. We're in a very, very good position as it stands anyway, with all of our most of our carriers out, and of course we've fielded a lot of battleships and such. You can see the presence we've got over here. It is now just a case of catching up with our supplies and really advancing into the Pacific theatre with some solid troops and base captures now. So I think that's going to do for us today guys. Just a quick note, the videos coming in this coming week may be a bit sketchy whether they do get uploaded or not. I'm just very, very busy this week indeed, and to be quite honest, I am very, very poor at time management, quite giving myself too many things to do in 1 week, and I am actually viewing some new accommodation this week, which is rather important, if I may say so myself. So we'll see if those come out. I'll see if I can find some time. Otherwise, you have been warned. So I do apologise if there is an absence of videos towards the end of the week. However, thank you very much for watching. Despite that, I hope you have enjoyed the video today. It's been very, very fun indeed. Was not expecting a battleship kill actually like that. It's very, very fun indeed. But thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the future. May all of your nights and days be auspicious. Goodbye.